Welcome to Therapy Talk with Julius LPC. Hey, what's going on? Welcome to Therapy Talk Live. We're going to give everybody kind of a chance to get on here. If we have some people listening, say what's up. If you all did want to get on here, you can actually join in on the video. Today's a very, very special session. I have my good friend, Gary LPC. Sometimes I like to call him Acierto. But today's session is going to be all about relationships, and on a clinical basis, but also just stemming from kind of some of the things that we've learned related to doing like family therapy, just dealing with all types of situations and all types of people. So first of all, let me just give a big shout out to Gary. Gary has been inside of the mental health industry for going on maybe 20 years now, close to.
Yeah.
Man, 20 years inside of the industry. He's dealt with inpatient, outpatient, mental health on all types of different fronts, dealing with children, adults, and he's just basically been someone pivotal in inside of the industry, especially here in Oklahoma. And I'd just like to say, what's up? Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to enjoy the time with us. And just, introduce yourself.
Like Julia said, name is Gary. I'm also a licensed professional counselor, like Julius. And, I've been in this field a long time, and, I have a heart for helping people. I've been through a lot myself. And so, if there's something that I can do to hopefully help someone not fall down the same way I did, then, that's my goal. And so, definitely glad to be here when you invited me. And, hopefully there's lots of people watching and either live or down the road. And we'll be hopefully a blessing to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And whether or not people know this, this has actually been a ministry of mine, or I was told to do this. So I actually already know that we are actually, even at this moment, the number one mental health entertainment talk show in the world.
There we
I
go.
know people are going to think that's crazy, but just watch. It's going to happen, and it has already happened. So as I want to start every show, to God be the glory. Thank you very much for this opportunity. So we can get right ahead, everybody talking. Our statement today, basically what we're going to be speaking about today, and the topic of the day is related to why a lot of times do we get into unhealthy relationships? What is the foundation of these unhealthy relationships? And better yet, how do we kind of steer away from them? And the reason this is very important is because, and this is why I asked Gary to actually come on, was because, man, he does these excellent TikToks related to relationships. And on these TikToks, man, he really just like expresses uh, really valid information related to relationships, related to how they work. And we're actually going to listen to them today. Gary, can you go a little bit into like kind of what made you start these TikToks and really talking about these relationships and some of the issues that you've seen arise inside of your practice?
Yeah. And right before that, let me preface with saying, just so you all know that everything that Julius and myself say on here, although we are licensed professional counselors, the idea behind this is not to take the place of therapy, whether
Right.
that's individual, family, or marriage. So if you're struggling in your own life or in your relationship, there are some good talking points on this. There's good information, but it is not designed to take the place of traditional therapy. So please realize that. But it's interesting.
It's for entertainment purposes only.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So interesting thing is I kind of got into this on accident. And so not the therapy part, but as far as how it's been delivered. And so the interesting thing is is I got Snapchat. So Julius was saying TikTok, but it's Snapchat. And so I got Snapchat, and it was my first, my first go around with it. And so I really didn't know everything that I was doing. And a friend of mine had posted a question about her significant other in the relationship that they have, and so I was like, oh well, let me respond to her and try to give my input and my thoughts on it, and meaning to respond to her directly, I did not do that. And so apparently I had, sent it out into the Snapchat universe. And so what ended up happening was I had other people reach out and was like, oh, well, what are your thoughts on this? And what are your thoughts on that? And that's when I realized, oh, I didn't send this just to her. I sent this to, a bunch of people. And
Right, right.
I realized that it was, something that people were kind of out there looking for. So,
Absolutely. Well, if you'd like, let's just go straight into it. Let's go straight into the video. I'm gonna put the video actually on here. It's a wonderful thing, and it's just gonna be like a couple minutes, and just kind of, kind of see exactly what he was actually speaking about. So let me make sure that everything can be heard.
So let's get started. Why do you always pick the same dude over and over again that cheats on you? Or fellas, why do you pick the same girl over and over again that disrespects you? Simply put, we accept the love we think we deserve. That's it. And what do I mean by that? Now, in your head, you may say, I look good. Any dude should want to be with me. I got my stuff together. Or men, you tell yourself, I got myself a great job. I take care of all my responsibilities. I treat the women in my life like queens. So the women in my life need to be up here with me. Your head says that, but your heart says something completely different. You believe it in your head, not in your heart. And if you did, you wouldn't be bringing home the same people all the time. If you have children or siblings, you would not be okay with their significant others treating them the way some of your significant others have treated you because you understand how much they deserve. You can disagree with me on this next point. You'll be wrong, but you can disagree with me if you choose. But listen to me carefully on this one. Chemistry. Chemistry, in and of itself, serves absolutely no purpose. In and of itself, no purpose.
Now, Gary, why is that?
Um, because chemistry changes. The butterflies that we have in our and when we meet that first person, when we meet that person for the first time, those feelings that rise up in us and the way we feel and the giggliness and all of that we have, that changes. And if you talk to any married couple that's been married for a long time, they'll tell you that they may hate their spouse the next day and then love them the following day, and and again, a lot of times we pick our significant other based off that bubbly feeling,
So
and
if we're
so
not supposed to pick them off of the bubbly feeling, then what are we supposed to be picking our relationships off of, in your opinion?
well, and I don't mean that the bubbly feeling doesn't have its place.
Hmm.
I'm not saying that chemistry does not matter. What I'm stressing is that chemistry by itself doesn't matter. That itself should not be the only reason that we're picking someone. And so I mean, we pick off of compatibility. We pick off of um, is that person obviously a good fit? Do we have similar beliefs? Do we, there's a lot of different things that go into why we pick someone, but oftentimes it's just, oh, they look good, and when I'm around them, I feel giggly, and then we wonder why, 2 weeks later, the relationship didn't work, and it's because the giggly feelings went away, and when it comes time for the real work to be done, we don't want to go there. We don't want to do that.
Right, absolutely. And I can definitely understand exactly what you're speaking of. There's actually a thing, and it's called, I don't know if you can see that, Steinberg's triangular theory of love. And have you ever heard of this?
I have, yes.
Yeah, yeah. And it talks about that, like intimacy, passion, And the very most interesting one is the infatuation. But then on the other side of that is actual commitment. So basically, it breaks down how infatuation is absolutely opposite of commitment, is absolutely opposite of intimacy. And in order for you to have this consummate love, because a lot of times people have that, they're like, oh man, I'm just really passionate about this person. But then at the same time, they lack the intimacy. And then a
Hmm.
lot of times they have the passion and the infatuation, but then they actually don't have the commitment.
Hmm.
Because it's like, man, we were so passionate, that was great. But man, this person, can't stop cheating on me.
Right. Exactly.
so
Exactly.
so I think that's you like you said, I think that's absolutely important. I want to stress on a point and just kind of get deeper into this because I think it's an epic statement you made. We accept the love we think we deserve. Can we go a little deeper into that and what that absolutely means?
Yeah, and so it's interesting. I saw that on a movie I was watching years ago, and so it's not my original quote. Let me throw that out there. Don't want to get sued down the road. It's not my original thought. But when I
Mhm.
first heard that, I kind of struggled with it, to be honest. I thought it was a really good statement. I thought it was good, but I was like, "What do you mean we accept the loves? We like, so you mean that I think I deserve to be cheated on, or I think I deserve to, have someone who doesn't treat me good?"
Mhm.
And so I know the statement seems difficult to understand, difficult to grasp, and really it seems kind of unfair to those people who have been cheated on and things like that. But in actuality, it is legitimate, and so we find ourselves in a cyclical pattern of picking the same type of person, knowing we want different. Like nobody wakes up and says, you know what, I'm gonna go find that dude that cheats on me, or I'm gonna go find that.
Are you sure? Because I think some
What?
people do. They're like,
There may be a few,
they're like, yeah, I want that guy.
right?
You
Yeah,
know, I like the roughneck. You know what I'm saying? There's a whole song like that. Got a
there is,
roughneck.
but
Got a yeah.
yes, but if you on that same thought token, the people when I was dating women when I was younger, I used to hear often, believe it or not, that I was too nice of a guy. That
Right.
I was just too nice. They couldn't date me because I was too nice. And so what I realized was that was the thought process of an immature person, relationship wise.
Mm,
Not that they're not
mm.
intelligent, not that they're not a good person, but relationally they are immature, because nobody now as a mature relational person would be like, what, they're just too nice. They just they're always opening the door for me. They're always saying sweet things to me, like, no, nobody does that.
So
So
so what do you think they deserve, and what do you think that they deserve? Because that's very important. Where does the deserving part come from?
that's a good question.
I,
Uh,
I
the Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
The
I'll answer next.
the best I can explain is, we we don't, a lot of times, because of our past experiences, we can't see ourselves in a situation different than, we had this first person cheat on us, and so you might realize that it's not something that you want, but what else can I get? And it gets reinforced by the next person that does it, and reinforced by the next person that does it, and before you know it, you are now looking for individuals who have cheated on you, or whatever the situation is. And so, um, because of the experiences that we've had in life, it's hard for us to see outside of where we currently are. And so, because of that, even though intellectually it might not be what we think we deserve, the pattern in what we pick shows us otherwise.
Absolutely. And just to piggyback on that, I've noticed inside of my practice that people subconsciously attract what they absolutely have already been through because it's been normalized.
Absolutely.
So I will, for someone who, like, let's say me, I've never hit a woman in my life, right? So I would expect that if there's a woman who's never been, attacked or hit, that their response a lot of times would be like, "Oh my God, this person hit me. I'm done.
Hmm.
It's over." But if you've had that normalization where maybe you've seen your mother or a relative been attacked in that way, then it's somewhat normalized to the point where if it happens, the warning signs aren't kind of on the wall, and it's kind of easier to float into that. And that doesn't just go for physical abuse, it actually goes for sometimes emotional abuse. Even for people who are uh, end up being people who are victims of, or I don't, well, actually, let me stop that. There is no such thing as a victim. It takes two to tango. So usually, and this is a very controversial statement I'm going to say, but someone who's actually an abuser has to have someone that's okay at the moment, not okay, but more comfortable in the abusive state, because they have to work together. You can't have like an abuser and then have someone who's totally not about that life, because they would just leave, because their mind state's different in that moment. So in that basis, you have two individuals which are living in codependent spaces. They both are missing something, both are sickled, and they have to come together in order for that unhealthy relationship to subside for a certain period of time. Have you seen that?
I have, and I think you said something that is pivotal and integral in that is it's the level of comfort and the level of uh, unknown. And so a lot of times we will choose, right, wrong, or indifferent, to stay in a relationship because I don't enjoy the person cheating on me. I don't enjoy them, um, doing whatever it is that he or she is doing. But at least I can expect it. I know what to expect from him or her. You know, Tomorrow
So
I
the
don't know what to expect when they're not there. I roll over and they're not there next to me in the bed, or
right.
whatever. And so that unknown part is a lot of times more scary than the person who's treating us wrong at that moment.
Ooh. Isn't that crazy? And everyone's been through this. We're
Oh
not
yeah,
speaking about this like we're just like out here telling people like we're just two guys that have made a million mistakes and then watched the other people make a million mistakes. And so we're able to see it on
absolutely.
the other side because we've watched all of these mistakes happen. Um, I want to piggyback also just on that statement about the deserve and basically on investments. Um, Inside of this thing, and I'm going to play just a little bit more of it. You go into basically investment and how people invest in certain parts of the relationship. And then you made a statement, and it was, if I'm right, um, the only reason why it's hard for people to stay is because they are invested. Is that correct?
Yeah, when we invest in something, um, so from the thought process of a company or an employer that you work for, you become vested in that company after you've put in a certain amount of time, meaning you start to accrue benefits, whatever that is. And so um, and so uh, yes, it's
It,
challenging because we have um, invested and become vested in that relationship.
let's watch just a little tidbit of kind of what that part is. I'm going straight to it right now. Let's see. Oh, I need to make sure to share the audio. Okay, let's go a little bit
How do I
into
know
the.
it's right? How many of y'all out there have had great chemistry with someone, but you're single right now? Or you had
And we're
great chemistry with
still
someone, but
talking
3 months
about the
later he had
chemistry.
great chemistry with someone else? With that being said, when you go to dinner and you get all the little butterfly feelings and the conversation is so great, it does not mean that he should be the next person in your life. The opposite works the same way. You're at dinner and it's like pulling teeth trying to get the person to talk to you. You're not even 100% sure if you like the guy because I don't feel all these little butterfly feelings. That does not mean that he should not be in your life, because chemistry in and of itself tells us nothing.
Here
Chemistry
it
changes
goes.
from day to day. If it didn't, you'd be the same person you had those very first butterfly feelings for. So believe in your head so that you can feel in your heart, so that you can accept the love that you truly deserve. Now, I'm almost done here. So, why is it that once we realize that they're bad for us, is it so hard for us to step away from them? It is because when you invest, you become vested. What do I mean by that? To be vested means that something belongs to you. For example,
Mm,
you're at a job, after a year, you become vested. You belong to that company. You've now invested time in a company, and in return, that company gives you PTO, they give you stock options, 401k, and etc., because you belong to them. So nobody wants to invest something and not get the return they expect. You treat your relationship like it's the NASDAQ or the Dow Jones. So, in the world of investments, we know there are no guarantees. So, you invest in the person that has the higher likelihood of returning what you want back from them. So, as I sum this
ooh.
up,
Hold on. Hold on. Preach, Gary. Preach. Preach, Pastor Gary. So you invest in people that there's a good chance that you will get the highest rate of return.
yes, ROI. It's all about ROI.
ROI. Okay. What would be the actual like ROI of like a healthy investment? Um, you know, what is the right ROI? What what
Well,
what what are
I think the return on the investment, what's healthy, really, I can't tell someone what's healthy for them. I can tell you what's healthy for me. And
the
so for me, um, if I'm dating someone, I'm dating for marriage. It's the only reason I'm dating. And so if that person doesn't want to get married, or they're, in my mind, they're not marriage material for me, then that's a bad investment. Why continue to date and spend time and energy and money and introduce them to family and all of that kind of stuff if I know they're like, well, you know what, I don't really believe in marriage. Well, I do. So I've invested all of that time and energy and effort and etc. in that person, and that's unhealthy. It's unhealthy for me. Now, for someone
right,
else,
right.
that may be okay, but
So basically, I always looked at it too as this like you have to have combined goals.
mhm,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So, you can't jump into the investment and both people have different goals onto where the company's going, because there will always be conflict. There will
Absolutely.
always be conflict.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it usually has to be. I mean, in my mind, it has to be, mutually beneficial. For me, if I'm in a company, they're not going to allow me to be vested, meaning giving me options and early retirement, whatever, give me all of that stuff if I'm not beneficial to them. Meaning, I'm doing a good job in my position, I'm making the money, whatever it is. They're not going to do that if it's not benefiting them. But obviously, they're writing me a check every Friday or whatever, so it's beneficial to me too.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, there has to be combined goals, absolutely.
I was teaching a course a couple days ago, and I told the students, I said, "Hey, since you're going to be in class, this is going to be hard." And I was like, "What is the goal?" And we talked about the goal, and it was a bunch of nursing students, and we talked about the goal, and we said, and then I said, "How much does that make? What will be the money that you'll make?" And to be honest, a lot of the students didn't understand like how much a nurse makes. And I said, "Well, how is it that you're going into this and you don't know the benefits, the things that are going into this? Because if that happens, then basically through the process of this relationship that you're having with the school, when it's hard, you'll actually be able to work through it, because now you're not working about the immediate stress, you're thinking of the long-term outcome." And I think that works a lot of times in relationships as well, because
Yeah,
now you're not just thinking about what's happening today. Now you're like, okay, today was a bad day, but the long-term outcome of this is going to be this. Yeah, I might be working really hard on this test today, but I understand that in a year I'm not going to have to work on it at all. And now I have this freedom, and then I can work on other things. And that doesn't mean the stresses aren't going to come, because I know when we became therapists, it was still stressful. It was just a
Absolutely.
different type of stress. And
Yeah.
at least we were getting paid. So
Right.
it was great. We're at least getting paid for the stress instead of paying someone else
Yeah.
for the stress.
Yep.
So yeah, so absolutely, I can definitely understand. Uh, so just in a nutshell, how do we assess what is a good relationship in a nutshell? Like, I know it's different for everyone, but I remember you speaking about like there's a certain amount of tenants, there's certain things that are just kind of down the line. And I'll tell you what mine are, and then you can kind of tell you what yours are. So for me, my baseline, and it probably should be higher sometimes, is as long as it doesn't affect my health or wealth. And when I speak of health, I talk about mental, physical, spiritual, and financial. If it's messing with my physical health, my mental health, my spiritual health, or my financial health, I always have to do an assessment and be like, whoa, I got to figure this out. What are some of the things, the tenants that you think are just like, this isn't a good investment? Like I said, if we were doing the Dow Jones and you're like, man, I don't see these things inside of the statement.
That's a good question, and I've heard you say that statement before about your health and your wealth, and I love that. So if you hear that come out of my mouth, I got it from
Right.
Julius. But um, no, I mean I think that's good. I if there's a lot of inconsistency, and it doesn't mean that the person is going to be perfect all the time. It doesn't mean that they're never going to make you mad or anything like that. But if there's a lot of inconsistencies, um, then chances are the investment's not good. If you look, and I'm by no means a financial advisor or anything like that. We have a friend who is. That ain't me. But if you're looking at something to invest in, and you see that their investment is going up and down, and stock options rose $1 and it dropped $10 the next day, and then 2 days later it's $30 more, and then it drops $29. Like, that's usually not a good sign. Now it's different if it's great and great and great and great, and then it dips a little bit, and then you've watched it over a little bit more time and it goes back up. That's different. But if it's inconsistent all the time, like, that's usually not a good sign. And so, like, for example, if we all like to know, like, we want to know what to expect, and if you're working and you go into your job and your boss just flies off the handle today, they just they're mad, they're angry, and just all that. And then tomorrow you go in and they're like, I love you. You're the best employee ever. And then you go in on Friday and they're like, man, you know what? I can't stand you. And then you're like,
Right.
but it worked because it's so inconsistent. And so,
Right.
that's one thing I would say look at. Look at, if you've been dating them for a while, you've been dating them for 6 months, and you've got 5.5 months of inconsistency, you may want to pull out before before you get vested.
Right.
You may want to, take your money and run, so to speak.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to take the time out to also just thank all the people that have liked us on Facebook as of now. I know that shout out to Corey Carolina, shout out to Chris Taylor, and Mercy Constance. I think she's showing up from Kenya because she's either family or friends of a lot of my family members. I believe in Kenya right now. The time is I think close to 7 a.m. So for all my people in Kenya, I want to say what's up. Thank you so very much for taking the time out to listen to our podcast. Um, uh, I just want to tell everyone that, to really realize that the most important thing for everyone to do in every relationship is keep their mental health first. And like I said before, it's physical, spiritual, financial, all of those different concepts. I don't know if you've seen what happens in a relationship when everything isn't financially correct. it's a problem.
The number one
And
reason
there's a
for
lot of
divorce.
it's the number one reason for divorce. Um, I would say personally, but this is just me as a Christian, unapologetically, it's to also keep God first. And the reason I say that is because if you have something bigger than yourself to actually believe in, it's easier to wrap yourself around that and actually work through things. And I'm not someone here, I'm not one of those like, pushy people that tells people like, what to believe in or what else to believe in. But even when I've dealt with people that are more agnostic, I always say, what do you all believe that's bigger than you?
Hmm.
Because a lot of times what you are and what's going on with you in a relationship can get out of the way of what it means for you all to be together under the umbrella of something else. So, a lot of times for me personally, if I'm in a relationship, if it's a godly relationship, and especially when I get married, it's like I can trust the person, but I trust God more. And I can
Yeah.
trust this relationship under God
Hmm.
because I'm a faulty person. I'm sure whoever I marry will be a faulty person, and we will be faulty together. But we have to have some type of tenets that we rely on that are the basis of everything. And having that over that umbrella puts us out of ourselves, and we can say, well, you know what? That doesn't fall under the umbrella of what we're about because we said we were about this thing.
So
How do you feel about that?
no, I like it. It's the from what I hear you saying is your if you are dating someone with similar faith to you, then that is the standard that God in this situation is the standard in which your relationship functions. And so if you aren't meeting those standards, then you know what to look for. This is the standard. And so if I'm faulting in that area, then I know what the standard is. It's a lot easier to hold yourself accountable to the standard that you know.
Right. And for people who aren't necessarily, religious based, it would be like your non negotiables, right?
Mhm.
Or the things that you all are basing it on. Like if it was to become very successful, or is this going to affect our progression for our family's future in blah, 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 blah. But yeah, I definitely think that. So I think everybody has their own kind of path. Did you have anything else that you wanted to kind of leave on at this point?
Yeah, we've all heard the saying, and I'm honestly not even sure. I think it's I'm not sure who said it, but we've all heard the saying um, that to do the same thing and expect different results is insanity. And so for whoever said that, it's an amazing statement because it's true, and that's true in relationships as well. Whether it is because of trauma, whether it's because of convenience, whatever the reason is, if you are still single and you're not 13, then you've probably dated a few times. And so if you're single, then what has happened in those past relationships? Like, what, like, and here's a good example. I was at someone's house today, and my car is in the shop. And shout out to Jackie Cooper. Hopefully, y'all doing a great job. If you want to throw some money our way, we'll take it. But
Right, right.
but my car's in the shop, and so they loaned me one of their cars, beautiful 2022 or 2021 Mercedes, and all of that. And so
Hmm.
anyway, I'm at this person's house, and I was like, hey, do you want to drive this, around the corner or whatever? And and this person was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. So they drove around the corner and immediately fell in love with it. And
Right.
and the next statement that they said is why this is important. They said, "Oh, well, now this is the kind of car that I want." Prior to that, they
Mm.
didn't have much experience with Mercedes. They were, they believed in Toyota, they believed in Honda, they believed in Chevys, and all of that is great.
But
But
once
that
they
hadn't,
drove it.
once they drove it, the
Mm.
Toyota, the Honda, the Chevys, and et cetera, hadn't gotten them what they wanted. And so they didn't even know any better until they drove the Mercedes. And so a lot of times we're such a creature of habit. This is, I'm only gonna date this person, I'm only gonna date black people. Or I'm only gonna date
Ooh.
right people or whatever, and you've just now closed yourself off to this one thing, and you don't have no idea how great something else can be until you try it. And
Right,
so
right,
if you see
right.
yourself constantly single and trying and trying and trying, those relationships aren't working, change it up, date somebody different, stop finding the same dude at the bar, like
Yeah, and
change up where
it's
you meet the
okay,
person and all that.
and maybe it's okay to date without taking a full investment and becoming
Mm,
fully invested in the
mm-hmm.
product. That's like researching your stock. You might research the stock, and even your first investment might be a very small investment because you want to see how it goes, and then over time you might put a investment. But I watch EYL a lot, Earn Your Leisure, and the guy, I forgot what the guy is, but he does his stuff, and he said specifically, he said, we don't make investments where we lose. If we're losing a whole bunch, that's the wrong investment. Of course, we're long term, but we shouldn't be losing a whole bunch because it takes years to catch up on a losing investment. I'd rather jump out if I don't see the dynamics in there that the foundation is solid.
Yeah.
And so, and to me, in a relationship, the foundation being solid would be: is this person making the appropriate decisions? Do they have a good board? Do they have people around them
Mm-hmm.
that help them make better decisions? I remember I was looking at American Airlines when I invested a little bit during the pandemic, and I went and looked at the CEO and realized that he had been in the game for like 30 years, and he had been there through the last crash. And I was like, oh, he was there through 2008, but he was with another company. Oh, and his mentor was the guy that was over Delta back in the day, and he mentored four of the CEOs that were over. I forgot Delta, the ones now. The guy who mentored them. The CEOs are now over four of the other airlines, so they all know each other. They're all basically cool with each other. So I'm saying that, as people, when we do those relationships, that we look for specific things like, who is it? Who are the people giving the people wisdom? Who is their board? What are they investing in? and do we
Absolutely.
see and do we see not that someone has to be like making 500,000, 300,000, or that the woman is perfect and she has all these things, but have you seen a steady progression in their growth over the years?
Yeah. No,
Because
I
just
think.
like everything, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. I mean, you chose to invest in American Airlines. I think the first statement that you said was because he had been doing this. He'd been in the game for 30 years, so you knew his hard work. You knew his consistency. You could look back at a pattern of behavior and see that it was good. And it was. I talked to a friend of mine. This was probably a year ago, and she was talking to a dude that had been divorced 5 times, and I was like, did they all die? Like, I mean, like it's just different. And again,
And if they did, you
I'm
got
not
to
throwing
watch
shade
out.
at nobody. Let me clarify. I'm not throwing shade at anybody who's been through multiple,
Right,
multiple divorces. By no means, everything
right,
happens and it is what it is. But
right.
but I'm like, like unless you were a widow 5 times, 5 times is a lot. So I'm like, what
If you were
made you
widowed
think?
5 times, there's an issue. You need to watch
I guess
out.
that's true too.
If you've been widowed 5 times,
I guess that's
you,
true too.
you
But
whatever you giving them, they not making it through the
something ain't
marriage.
working.
That's
But
something's not working statistically.
But yeah, but if if your dude from American Airlines was only at American Airlines for 6 months, and then he went to another company, he lost money there, then he went somewhere else, he lost money there, and he went somewhere else, he lost
Hmm.
money there, you wouldn't invest in American Airlines because it didn't make any sense. And so, she, for whatever reason, this dude that she was dating had been through 5 prior divorces, and I'm not saying they were all his fault. What, I don't know the reasons and the rationale for whatever the whatever happened, but like, what made you think that this was a sound investment? Or you want to get married. She's somebody who wants to get married. So what made you think that this person was the best investment when you know that 5 other times they lost money, so to speak? So
Sometimes people, I think, pick the stock, pick the person off of immediate gratification and off of speculation. It's
what?
speculated that this person is going to fly over the moon
Mm-hmm.
without looking at the nuts and bolts. And I'm stating all this because I think we're all guilty of, well, I can't say all, I'm just going to
Oh yeah,
speak for myself.
no, I have
I'm
absolutely.
guilty of it. I've been guilty of it. And it's the speculation that we start to believe in something instead of looking for it. So right now there's a bunch of stuff that happened. I mean, even Dogecoin or anything else, people are speculating into these individuals and these things. And yes, guess what? You might be in there like long term, and there's a chance that it might work out. We're just saying that the likelihood of that investment is like gambling.
You just took the words out of my mouth because there's a difference in my mind. There's a difference between researched and you know um, really doing your due diligence before you invest, and just gambling. Investment in and of itself, usually takes some thought. You're looking into it. Gambling, you're just, I hope, I pray, good luck. And sometimes you get those winners. I was in a fantasy football league a few years ago, and my homeboy's wife, she picked she picked teams to win and stuff like that, based off their jersey color. Believe it or not, she won. She beat us all, but it was a gamble. She didn't do any research. She just threw it out there, and it happened to work. But that's usually not the case. And so, like, you don't want to, don't just gamble with your relationship. That, like, there should be some research done. Don't just be like,
Right,
oh
right,
well,
right.
throwing it to the wind.
Right. Absolutely. And then once you're inside of the relationship, which we'll float on this later in the future, probably for part two. Once you're in the relationship, it's kind of like how to basically go into that relationship and maintain that relationship over the long term. Whether, and then how to keep it healthy, whether it lasts or not. We understand that most relationships, we just keep it real, are not going to last, just because people are changing people. And due to just our culture now, um, some things just don't last because of, you have to have two people that are on the same page. And with our social and how we kind of view things, it's hot girl summer, hot boy summer, you know,
Yep.
things change. Uh, but I just really want to thank you, Gary, for this, opportunity to talk. I just like to thank everybody who actually took the time out to watch this. I think it's awesome, and I actually really do believe this will be the number one therapy talking platform on Earth.
Hey, we already in Kenya, right? So
We're in Kenya. We're already around the world. You know what I'm saying? I think it's like 7 or 8 o'clock in Kenya. It is live there. I'm pretty sure they'll see it later on, when they get up. And I just want to thank everybody who is taking the time out. Please, 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 make sure to subscribe to. Hold on, let me put it on here. Please, to Therapy Talk Live on YouTube. Man, I just started this like yesterday, but I had a dream about this, so it's going to happen. We just want to be able to bless people with information and for the experience. Right now, you have over 30 years, believe it or not, of experience with this therapy stuff. We want to actually be able to also let people come on here and ask questions. We have the capability of doing that as well, and we're going to just start educating people, and especially marginalized communities, on what this therapy is, and to demystify the whole therapy process so that
yes,
people can get the information that they need. And if you don't, of course, this is for entertainment purposes, but we do hope that you will be inspired to go talk to a therapist, to speak to somebody who's been clinically trained and has the experience to listen to you. And the great thing about therapists is we legally can't tell your business. You don't have friends like that. You
Right.
don't have a friend right now that when you die, they can't tell your business. You don't have that friend. But I am that friend when I'm doing therapy. Okay? I can't say nothing. I'm legally bound to it. Okay? So I'm encouraging everybody. And without further ado, thank you very much, Gary, for coming out and talking. Once again, it's my very first guest. I'm sure this is in the history books. And I'm going to leave this session every single time with the same concept. Keep God first, and also keep your mental health first as well. Thank you so very much, Gary. You have a great, great evening. And for everybody out there, thank you so very much for taking the time out to listen to Therapy Talks with Joyce LPC with special guest Gary LPC. You make sure to have a blessed night. Peace.